Welcome to Nusantara, the Southeast Asian archipelago. It is the birthplace of humanity, in our long journey of civilization. A homeland for human ancestors, for the last 1.5 million years. A place where our early ancestors have roamed a vast land of opportunity. Shared the space with many other wonderful creatures. Leave us the evidence of human evolution and their adaptation to the environment. Who are they? What do they look like? And how do they live their life? For almost 2 decades, the Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies has contributed to revealing the answers. Behind CPAS is a group of passionate scientists with global networking in prehistory and Austronesian studies. Our mission is to provide best practices in the framework of archaeological research and development. Pushing the values of our research beyond the knowledge. Reveals the national identity. Enriches our understanding of cultural developments. Unveil the reason behind our strong character of diversity. Narrates the story of ethnogenesis and the foundation of our nation state. Preserving our past as a heritage for the wealth of our future generation.
Selamat sore, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this talk show, monthly regularly talk show provided by CPAS in collaboration with many other institutions. And for today's talks, we'll discuss about the Pleistocene site, the very famous one from Indonesia, and without any I don't want to hold any more time. I will invite you all, Professor Truman Simbanjuntak, to give some short introduction about what we will talk for today, about the topic, and then the speakers and the importance of our talks for today. Professor Truman, the time is yours.
Oke, terima kasih. Selamat sore buat semuanya. Good afternoon, everyone. And good morning to the Netherlands. You are now in the Netherlands, I think, aren't you? Okay. So we are very, very happy to see you all in this talk show, organized regularly by the Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies, the CPAS. And now we are already in the fourth year of organizing this kind of scientific discussion by online. So far we have discussed around 37 topics by inviting speakers from various expertise, both from Indonesia and also from overseas countries. And the topic discussed come from various disciplines, including archaeology, geology, paleogeography, palynology, paleoanthropology, oceanography, ethnography, and some others. And in this talk show, we will discuss an interesting topic in the field of paleoanthropology. We are delighted that Professor Jose Joordens from Leiden University and Naturalis Biodiversity Center, by Zoom, will be discussing studying human origins in East Java, lessons learned from recent excavations at the Homo erectus site Trinil. So thank you, Ibu Jose, for your willingness to fulfill our invitation as a speaker. And we know that Trinil is a very, very historic site where the world's first Homo erectus fossils were found in 1891 and 1892. Eugène Dubois, the discoverer, excavated the site intensively in 1891 to 1894. He found fossil remains that he named as Pithecanthropus erectus, or ape man that walked in an upright position. This popular name later became known in scientific term as Homo erectus. Trinil, in fact, is not only known worldwide through the discovery of erectus fossils. More than a century later, in 2014, among the Dubois collection stored in the Netherlands, Professor Jose and her team discovered a freshwater mollusk engraved in a zigzag pattern, dating to circa 500 to 400 kilo years. This is a finding that shows the ability of erectus to express their thoughts in the form of drawing, or maybe also as a symbol. And by publishing this find in Nature, once again, Trinil revealed to the world a work of erectus that predates its times. The story of Trinil never ends. Soon after this engraving discovery, Professor Jose, in collaborating with the Puslit Arkenas, with us at the time, re-excavating the Trinil site. This collaboration resulted in a new insights being published in different international journals. Well, so this is the topic that we will discuss in this talk show. Hopefully, it can broaden our knowledge and insights concerning the colonization of Homo erectus that took place hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago, especially in East Java. So to remind, after Professor Jose's presentation, there will be a session that invites participants to discuss with the speaker. And after that, there will be a closing remarks about the discussion, which will be addressed by Dr. 𝘗ᴜ𴑪. So, terakhir, selamat berdiskusi. Mari kita manfaatkan kesempatan ini untuk memperluas pengetahuan dan wawasan. Once again, thank you very much for all the participants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Truman. And for today's talk, we would like also use this opportunity to say and to express our deepest condolences for the loss of Dr. ᴘᴇᴜ our close colleagues from the Philippines, and we hope that all of us here can learn many things about his achievement, and we hope him rest in peace, Dr. Bongdizon. And for today's talk, we will have our moderator for today, Mas Hari Octavianus Sofyan from National Research and Innovation Agency in Indonesia, and also a member of CPAS executive member. Mas Hari, the time is yours to guide our discussion for today. Thank you very much, Professor Truman.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Mas Ruli, for the time, and I will take this conversation. And I think, as Ruli said before, we losing of the Professor Bongdizon. Is he's passed away in the Wednesday, 23rd of the April is 2025. So it's I think it's a couple days ago. Okay, Bong will be sadly missed, and those who live in our memory are never truly gone. So, okay, I will continue with the short curriculum vitae of the Professor Dr. Josephine Joordens. So, is trained as a marine biologist. Her first career as an applied scientist and consultant in coastal ecology until she decided to go back to academia and study the evolution of hominins. She completed a PhD in the art and life science in Free University, Amsterdam in 2011. She worked as a researcher at the Faculty of the Archaeology in Leiden University, and after that in Free University Amsterdam, and naturalist from 2019 until 2024 at Maastricht University. And now she's a guest researcher at the Naturalis and as guest special professor at the Faculty of the Leiden University and guest researcher at the Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig in Germany. I'm sorry, my pronounce. Her publication was publishing in the reputable journal, and I remember Dr. Josephine Joordens give new perspective and knowledge about the oldest engraving of the Homo erectus in 2015, entitled of the Homo erectus at Trinil on Java use shelf for tool production and engraving. This is a result from the reanalyzing of the collection from the Adrien Dubois at the Trinil in Indonesia. So I will give a time to the Professor Josephine Joordens. It's a time for you, Prof.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I will see if I can share my screen and start the presentation. Can you all see this?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yes. Prof. Josie already co-host, so she can be a share. Okay.
Is it okay now? Can I start, or is it still not shared?
I think it's not yet. You
Not
can,
yet.
yeah. I think you can send by email probably, so we can help you.
Yes. Okay,
share
that will
it.
be, yes, that will be better, I think. See if I can. It will probably be sent as a link, but that will be no problem, I guess.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I've sent it.
Okay, Mas Ruli. Okay, Mas Ruli can. I already accepted. So
Okay, fine.
I think the participant will be patient with this. So no
Oh,
problem.
so sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry for the participant, probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's always the technical hiccups.
Yes,
But
this is the problem of the digital. It's always like this. Of the
yeah, okay,
connection,
okay, good.
yeah,
But
connection and everything. Yeah.
yeah, but on the other hand, it's absolutely great that we can be together like this without any travel. So yeah, that's the good part.
Yeah, every tool I think is have the positive and the negative things. I think that's one.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
it's as the human we adapted with that.
Adapt. Exactly. Yeah.
So really,
Yes, I'm
okay.
just I'm still try to download it. It's downloading, and
Suaramu kurang kuat, Rul, dari tadi.
it's downloading. And
Okay.
yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think the participant will be patient with that. No problem.
And we are for the audience for today. We are completely sorry about the delay because
Yeah,
No problem.
confusing with
it's
the
the
time zone, etc.
it's the technical problem with yeah, it's because I think connection between the around the world. I think there's
Yeah.
a college from Philippines too. I think yes, there is from the Cambodia and
Oh,
Indonesia. Absolutely.
yeah. But that's truly wonderful that we can do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Actually, we are streaming online from Bumi Ayu site, another PlayStation.
Ah. So Bumi Ayu is open now, this the field station?
Yes.
Yeah, Jose, we are already open here since the mid of April, and
Oh,
we
that's
would like to
great.
invite you to be a visiting professor. If you like
I
to
would
come, please.
really love that. So yes, definitely.
Maybe,
Let's do that.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Oh, I
can arrange some.
congratulations with the opening because I think that is a great achievement and it will be yeah, like a totally new time period opening up this
Yeah,
site for easier research. That's wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still continuing doing research
Okay.
in Trinil right now?
At Trinil right now, the project has finished. But there is some spin-off that I will also tell you about. And I've been back earlier this year to Jakarta. I've talked to Thomas, and it was so fun. Unfortunately, it was not possible to meet in person. But yeah, hopefully I will be back for more research in Indonesia. And I'm also in the process of now making a new project. So I will be, I'm sure that I'll be in touch with you all and to further discuss about this.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Yes, oh, I hope so too, very much so. And I see my presentation, so that's very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Shall I
Okay.
start? Yeah?
Yes. It's time
Yeah.
for you.
Okay, thank you
Jose.
so much. And to go to the next slide, I just say next slide or no, just go back. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's a big honor to speak for this audience, so international, but all very interested in this particular part of the world and its former occupation by humans. I'm going to tell you today about our project studying human origins in East Java and the lessons that we learned from recent excavations at the Homo erectus site Trinil. And what you are looking at right now is an old photo from 1900, where you can see it's a view across the Solo River to the Dubois site, and the scale is about 100 meters wide. So to the left, that is the east, and then to the right is the west. Or do I mix them up? No, I think it's correct. And you can see the tiny humans excavating there, and that shows you how big of a scale it was, this excavation by Eugène Dubois. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, I think we all very much know the story, and Professor Truman gave already an introduction of it. Eugène Dubois was very much obsessed, you could say, by finding a transitional form between apes and humans, and he wanted to find fossils of that form in Southeast Asia. And after many adventures, he ended up on the banks of the ＳＯᴜ River in Trinil in the 1890s and started excavating. And he found, can you click, please? Yes, he found, which is very like a needle in the haystack, a fossil skull cap, a fossil femur, and some teeth that he assigned to a new species called 𝘊𝘗𝘆𝘆𝘆 erectus, and that we now know as Homo erectus. His excavations were followed in 1907 and 1908 by another excavation led by Leonora Selenka. And she also did a great job finding many more fossils and also focusing more on the stratigraphy. If you can click on this. Yes. Here you can see that many of the fossils, or almost all of the fossils that Eugène Dubois collected in this time, were shipped at that time, of course, to Leiden. We are talking about the colonial period here, so the fossils didn't stay in Indonesia, but from the then Dutch East Indies went to Leiden, where they are, as we speak, still stored today. And what was special about Dubois is that not only did he pay attention to all the big, like vertebrate fossils, but he also paid attention to the smaller fossils, the fish, the birds, and even the shell fossils, which is quite special because not all recent researchers do this. They tend to focus more on the big animals. Can you go to the next slide, please? And then the next. Yes. As Professor Truman already mentioned, more or less by coincidence, a colleague of mine, Stephen Munro, when he went through the collections, he saw this strange marking on one of the freshwater shells that were part of the Dubois collection from Trinil. And it took us about 7 years to really study this collection very well. And in the end, in late 2014, we could publish this paper in Nature, and it showed that Homo erectus already used these freshwater mussels. They are about 10 centimeters big, so there's quite a lot of meat inside. They were used for food, but the shells were also used to make shell tools, and one of the shells was engraved. And that is, of course, very special because engravings usually are associated with modern humans, not with Homo erectus. The journalist even called it like oldest art. Of course, we don't know what the intention of the maker was, but definitely it shows that Homo erectus was way more intelligent and dexterous than we thought it was. And the age of the shells is about 500,000 years. Can you go to the next slide, please? Well, this of course was a big finding, and it got a lot of attention worldwide. And at about the same time, Professor Truman got together with Gerrit Alink, who was at that time a student from Leiden University. And then it was more or less, I was very happy to receive an invitation by Professor Truman to come to Jakarta and come to Indonesia and discuss working at Trinil together, make a new project to start re-excavating this iconic and historical site. And this is a very nice photo of Gerrit and Pat Truman in the boat on the ＳOᴜ River at Trinil in 2016. And I regard them as the fathers of this project that I'm going to tell you about now. Can you go to the next slide, please? And then the next. Click. Yes. So we named this project Shell in honor of the shell, studying Homo erectus lifestyle and location. It was a 5-year project funded by the Dutch Research Council, MAO, and it was co-led by Shinatria Aditya Tama together with me. Can you click two or three times? See what comes up? Yeah. I was very happy to collaborate with 3 wonderful people, Harold Berghuis, who's also in the audience now, and 𝘊𝘯𝘭𝘪𝘯, who is there as well, and Sander Hilgen, our PhD student. And this, 5-year research ultimately led to 3 publications. Can you click? Yes, there they are. It's a publication first by Harold Berghuis in 2021. Harold is a really great field geologist, and he has become also a great paleontologist. And he was the one who remarked that it's really necessary in order to understand Trinil to not only look at the site, but to zoom out to the wider area and see how it all fits in the bigger picture of everything that has been happening to Java in the past 2 million years. And of course, there's a lot going on with tectonics and subsidence and rising sea level changes, volcanics. So you have to understand all that before you can focus on the details of the site. When we had figured that out, Sander Hilgen published a very nice paper about the Dubois site itself, the dating, the stratigraphy, and then next, 𝘊𝘯𝘪𝘯𝘪 made the connection between our current investigations and the historical context. Please, next slide, please. Yeah, of course, we did not do this alone. It was a huge team. It was very much a collaboration with the Trinil team, including the Trinil Museum staff. We had students from Gadjah Mada University. We had colleagues from Sangiran, from the Geological Museum Bandung. So it was really a big group of people who helped us make this project happen. Next slide, please. Yes, so here we have a view again on the site of Trinil. Again, you can see the tiny humans revealing how big that place really was. And you can imagine that, of course, historical excavations, they didn't have the same ways of approaching this as we have now. They didn't have the same insights or tools or knowledge. So you have to very much be aware that these are different ways of excavations. And of course, that means that the stratigraphy and the sedimentological context of the site, there are still a lot of unknowns. The ages of the layers. Of course, we have dating methods, but Dubois and Lenora Selenka and team, they did not have this. Also, it's very important, we know that now, to establish the exact provenance of the hominid fossils and other fossils, so you know exactly where things are coming from. We have now total stations and GPS. That was not available then. And then there's another very interesting problem. If you look at the hominid fossils, the little image to the right, you can see the skull cap, you can see 5 femora, and the left one is the famous femur one. That was the first one that Dubois found, and that is actually the femur that gave Pithecanthropus its name of erectus, because it is clearly belonging to a creature that walked upright. It is very, very modern human-like, especially if you compare it to the one next to it, which is called femur 2. You can already see differences in the angle and in the head and in the length of the femoral neck, indicating that there might be something going on. So the taxonomy and the age of this femur 1 fossil has been actually debated since the very beginning. Next slide, please. So we wanted to go back and try to modernize all the wonderful work that has been done by by Dubois and Селенка, go back to the site of Trinil. Here within the red ellipse, you can see the site, and you can also see that actually we are looking at a lot of water. Even though the river water levels are low, most of the site that is remaining is actually underwater. And there's just a tiny bit that is where you see the blue top that is still emerged. And that shows right away how difficult it is to work there, because the river water tends to go up and down a little bit, even in the dry season. And yeah, you don't have the exact overview of what was going on there. Next slide, please. Or the next click. Yes. So for many years, we really had trouble understanding what was going on because it was so difficult to get a grip on it. And fortunately, in 2019, we were joined by Professor Veldkamp, Tom Veldkamp, who is a geomorphologist, and he's very much looking at sites that are associated with river downcutting and river terrace formation. And he immediately realized, to the right, that building that is the Trinil Museum, he realized that we were actually in a terraced landscape, and that in order to understand the stratigraphy of Trinil, we would have to look at those terraces. Next slide, please. And if you then look at the elevations of the different areas around the site, you can immediately see that there are several old river terraces of the Solo River. You have the youngest terrace T1 in the base of the picture. You have terrace 2 T2 that's actually overlying the Dubois site, and then there's more terraces around. And the Trinil Museum is actually sitting on terrace T5. That is one of the older ones. And with terraces, the strange thing is that the higher up, the older, and the lower down, the younger the terrace is. So that is the exact opposite of normally the building up layers, where the oldest is down and the youngest is up. Next click, please. Yes, so Harold, supervised by Tom Veldkamp, did a beautiful study mapping all the terraces around the Dubois site in Trinil. Here you can see the bend in the river. And that immediately shows you how important these terraces must have been. Next click, please. Can you click? Yes. Oh, one back, please. Sorry. Yeah, so these Solo River terraces that have been dated by the study of Rizal in 2020 at the site of Nandong, they cover and cut deeply into older deposits. And of course, you can imagine that that massively complicates the stratigraphy. Next slide, please. Yes, so I won't go into all the details, because if you want to read the details, you can look at the publication by Harold. But what you immediately can see is that you see formation names that you maybe not recognize. Usually in Trinil, the classical names have been used, like Puchangan Formation, Kabu Formation. Those are the ones that are the fossil holding ones. And underneath are the marine formations, the Kalibeng and the Padas Malang. What Harold actually did is make a local stratigraphy, an area stratigraphy with local formation names, because that is a much better way, instead of trying to correlate to formations that have been defined in other places, but it is really not possible to make that correlation in a safe way. Next click, please. Yes, so Harold made a revision of the old 1930s stratigraphic framework by Duifjes, and he defined new formations in the Trinil area. And this was in fact necessary to make sense of the Trinil site. So it's important, if you look at the composite stratigraphy again, the Batu Gajah Formation that is roughly dated between 1.8 and about 650,000 years ago. That is reflecting the emergence of Java from the sea. And then overlying that is the Trinil Formation that is also very fossiliferous. On top of that is the Solar Formation, that is the youngest formation associated with the river terraces. Next slide, please. And this is just to give you a quick overview showing how complicated the area is. You can see that the older deposits, they are dipping to the south, and that is very characteristic. If you see the layers dipping, you know that they are the older stratigraphy, with downward the oldest and upward the youngest. But then on top of that, with the colors, are the terraces, and they are cutting into the stratigraphy. And also you see that there is a presence of faults. So sometimes you have a really quite important movement of sediments. So all this is something to take into account. To the right, you see the Dubois site, and you see a question mark there because Harold focused on the bigger picture, and now we zoom in to the Dubois site. Next slide, please. Can you click on the next slide, please?
Yeah, sorry, because the image is too high, so my computer needs to.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
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 Yes, there it is. Yes, I realize it's quite a heavy presentation. So here we are back at the Dubois site, and we are looking at the deposits. You can see much of the old Dubois site is actually underwater now. But fortunately, we still have some remaining deposits that we can work with. What Sander then did is, of course, together with the whole team, make stratigraphic sections. Those are the red rectangles. So they are cutting into the wall and in order to reveal the deposits. What we also did was, and those are the blue rectangles, the blue squares, make several test pits and see if we could actually find fossils there. Next slide, please. And then after several years, this was the image that we came up with. Again, you have the east-west situation. You remember from the very first photo, the old photo. You can also see on top of there the indications of where exactly the sections were made. So we have in the left corner section S18B, and then you walk, so to speak, to the west, and there is the section S22. We can now go a little bit more to the lower picture, and you can see there again the sections showing the sediments, and you can also see the interpretation of how the old dipping deposits were cut off by the overlying terrace sediments. And you can immediately see that it's a very complex picture. And if you were walking from the east to the west along the river level, so if you go to the meter level 42 with your mouse or your laser pointer to the left of the scale. If you walk from the east to the west, you encounter no less than 5 different deposits. So there's a clay BGC2, and then we have a lahar BGL5. Then we come into a deposit that we call BBC1, BBC2, and then into the solar formation, into the terrace deposits. And actually, when you make that walk from east to west, this is exactly the place where Dubois has been excavating. You walk in time. So you start walking where things are about 800,000 years old, and you end up in 100 meters later in deposits that are aged only about 150 years old. Of course, Dubois didn't know that. He thought when he was staying at one level, horizontal level, he was more or less staying in one time slice, which normally is the case. Which you can also see because of all this downcutting of actually channel sediments, there must have been a lot of reworking of sediments and fossils. So there's also a lot of mixing going on. Very complicated. Next slide, please. Is it?
Is still working.
It's still okay. Well, we wait. No worries. What you also can see here, okay, we go to the next one. This is one of the test pits, test pit 1. And we were very lucky to find a beautiful stegodon mandible of a juvenile. But what we also could see that in this test pit, that is 1 meter by 1 meter square, and it was about a meter deep, that there were several layers. All layers were fossiliferous. You can see the red dots. They are all vertebrate fossils, so quite a lot of them. The blue ones are shell fragments. The green ones are botanical remains. And of course, there's also some large rocks in there. And if you would normally see this, you would think it is one layer because there's fossils everywhere. It's not really like a huge difference in layers. If you look very much in detail, you see that there is in between a kind of silt layer that doesn't have any fossils. But, well, if you're not aware of the fact that there may be age differences, you don't really see that. But fortunately, Sander did a really nice dating study. He combined 3 different methods, OSL, argon-argon, and paleomagnetics. And that allowed him to establish that the age of that upper layer, BBC2, was around, so very much confirming the 2015 study, about 500,000 years old, so between 560 and 430,000 years. And then the lowermost layer, the BBC1, that's actually much older. So that is around 800,000 years old. And now you can imagine how easy it is to mix up fossils because they are so close together sometimes, but from a very different age. Next slide, please. Yes, here you can see it in another way. Pachatur there is sitting on top of the BBC2. Actually, the test pit 1 is right behind him. And Pa Samin is excavating a fossil from the older layer from BBC1. And you can see the remains of the silt layer in between. The silt has mostly been washed away, but it's still visible. And you can also see the holes of the paleomagnetic samples that Sander took. So we have very much improved the age control of these hugely fossiliferous layers. But if you look at the right part of the picture where Pasamin is working, you can see how easy it is to confuse the layers. It's really not surprising that Dubois did not know this because it's so hard to see. Next slide, please. This is another test pit number 2, also 2 layers again, and also very difficult to see the distinction between the 2 layers. The more grayish one is BBC1, the more brownish one is BBC2, and you can actually see that this beautiful stegodon tusk has its tip in BBC1, but it's its root in BBC2. So this one must have been buried. It must have come from the BBC times, but yeah, it has a very complex history indeed. And this shows how the overlying BBC2 must have also been cutting into the BBC1 later on. Next slide, please. This is further to the west, and immediately you can see that we are looking at something completely different here. These deposits are cross-bedded sands. They have fossils, but not so many. It's not a bone bed. And we were lucky to find one fossil that is actually at the water level there. You can see like a blob sticking out. And yeah, to the left picture. And yeah, that is this beautiful, actually, two vertebrae of a large bovid in articulation with a calcite infill. And when I took this out, I was immediately reminded of femur 1, because it has the same also chocolate brown color. It has this calcitic infill. It has preserved a lot of details. It has the spine. It's very complete. It's articulated. So in many aspects, this reminded me of femur 1. And that immediately shows that, can you do the next click, please? That these terrace sediments are very important, because not only are they overlying the older stuff, but they are also, this Solo River at that time was downcutting into the older sediments and then filling up with terrace sediments again. That's what we are looking at here. And that shows that there are fossils in these deposits that must be a lot younger than the other fossils. But they are very heavy fossilized, and they look like quite a number of fossils from the Dubois collection. Next slide, please. Now we move on to, with having learned all this, we move on to the synthesis paper, you could say, that was made by Eduard Popp and colleagues. Eduard has made the connection between the new stratigraphy, the new dates, and the old historical information. Fortunately, in the Dubois archive, there are a lot of letters, there are maps, there are old photos. And Eduard has been studying all of these and try to, with GIS and a sideline analysis of historical photos, to make the connection and to establish most important hominin fossils were found exactly. And what you're looking at here, the colored image, is a drone image, an elevation model. And then you can see that, well, the fossils must have been found in an area that is actually underwater now. So we could not go back in detail then, but we can make the connection with our stratigraphical columns. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here you can see another view. The photos, the historical photos, are in the more or less the background. The upper one is again a view straight across the river to the site, and you can see that the easternmost part of the site has in the lower part these older layers, and in the upper part the T2 sediments. And when you look at the lower picture, that is actually like a 3D view showing you that there are several old channels. There's an old channel containing BBC1 and BBC2 sediments. They are more or less stacked on each other or sometimes cutting into each other. There's a younger channel that was an old channel of the Solo River that's called T2, and there's likely, even with the yellow dots, another younger channel that is probably aged around 30,000 years. So you can see that in this 100-meter scale of the old excavations, there is a lot going on. You can also see that the skull cap in green and the molar, also the green star, is actually located in the channel that is one of the oldest channels. So the skull cap is definitely old, minimum around 500,000, but most likely, looking at the taphonomy, it belongs in the older channel of about 800,000 years old. The femur is actually from the younger T2 channel, so that is ballpark 150,000 years old. Even though they're found very close together, their age difference is huge. Next slide, please. This is another view, but then looking at it from above. So you're looking at a map here again, and it shows beautifully that femur 1 is most likely from this T2 channel. And so this is very characteristic of this Dubois site. It may have something to do with, I don't know, fault occurrence or some tectonic background that caused these channels to form time and again. Next slide, please. So yeah, going back to the image of the Trinil stratigraphy that was made by Eugène Dubois in 1896, you can see he made quite a simple drawing, but still we can recognize now with our knowledge what he meant. We can see the vegetation on top of the terrace. We can see all the sandy sediments with the dots, yeah, that we now know have identified as these terrace sediments. Then we go further down, and there we find the main bone bed. And that is, we have shown that the main bone bed actually contains 2 different layers, the BBC1 and the BBC2. And the main bone bed is where Dubois found the skull cap, the femur, and also all these shells. But of course, in his image, we don't know exactly where to place them. Next slide, please. Now we are looking at a very beautiful, that's some resolution loss. I'm sorry about that, because it's really a great, that's what PowerPoint sometimes does. I try to prevent it, but anyway, you can see in one glance that this is a much better overview. It is made by Harold Berghuis, and it will be published in his thesis. The thesis is coming out soon this year. Later this year, it will be defended. What we are looking at is the left bank where the Dubois site is, and the right bank where the Trinil Museum is sitting up on top of the terrace 2-5. Yes. And now we can really go back and see where people have been digging in the past. And you can also see in one glance where the hominin fossils are coming from. And you can appreciate how much more complicated this is. But well, I'm really happy that we have been able to resolve it, that the skull cap and femur 2, 3, 4, and 5 are coming from the older BBC1 or maybe BBC2 deposits. But the Trinil femur comes from the T2A point bars, the orangey sediments. Then we move to the right bank and we see Trinil 9. That is a much younger Homo sapiens femur that has been found in terrace T1 sediments. And it has been published by Ruff et al. In 2022. So yeah, this shows how complicated it is, but also how much it was possible to resolve it, thanks to 5 years of dedicated work and really great people working on it. I'm sorry, I have to open the door because I'm so sorry. I had to accept an important package for the neighbors. We've been able to solve this. Next slide, please. So our conclusions, Trinil consists of several fluviatile channels, so river channels of different ages. They cut into each other, they cut into older deposits. We have the main bone-bearing layers, BBC1 and BBC2, so that is the main bone bed, with very different ages, about 800,000, about 500,000. What we know as the Trinil HK fauna that was excavated by Dubois, and of course it's very important because it's also in Sangiran, is actually a mixed assemblage containing mostly fossils from BBC 1 and 2, but likely also fossils from the younger terrace deposits. We think that the skull cap and femora 2 to 5 derive from the oldest channel fills, BBC 1, but femur 1 from the T2 terrace deposits, and that is correlated to the Nandong terrace about 140 to 92,000 years ago. Well, I think the paleoanthropologists agree that the skull cap and the femora 2 to 5 are like classical Homo erectus. But femur 1, that's more tricky. Actually, it could be a late Homo erectus, like Nandong. But it could be Homo sapiens because it's so human-like. It could, of course, also be something like a Denisovan or some kind of hybrid. I think this is still the mystery fossil, and well, paleoproteomics would be one way of solving this mystery. Next slide, please. Well, what are the lessons learned and what is the spin-off from the Trinil study? I think we've shown that Java has a very, very complex stratigraphy due to its situation on tectonic plates, where it is, and near the Ring of Fire. There's always tectonics, volcanics, sea level changes going on. And that, as a result of that, it's very important if you go to a hominid site and want to make sense of it, to establish the local stratigraphy, to really do a thorough geological study, and also a very careful dating study, because of course the dating has been notoriously difficult on Java. Many of the richest fossil sites are bone bed sites, which is wonderful because it brings a lot of bones together, but they are very hard to analyze, as our study has shown. So one of the lessons that we learned is that it's actually better to try to focus on basin infills. Then you have less fossils. It's not a bone bed, but you have the fossils in primary context, and you know that the fossils actually belong in the sediments where they have been found. And this is what brought us to the new ᴘᴜᴛᴏ site. Also, I think it's important that we start to look beyond Java, beyond East Java to Sundaland, because of course we know that the Sunda Shelf has become emerged or was emerged for a long time. So this must have been an area where Homo erectus and other hominids must have been living. And this brings us to the new Madura Strait site. I will do two more slides on this. Can you do the next one? Oh, somebody is not muted. In 2019, at one of the last days of our fieldwork there, we visited the ᴘᴜᴛᴏ site, which is slightly more to the east of Trinil, so downstream, also along the Solo River. It was 𝘗𝘗𝘭𝘪𝘗 who did a long stratigraphic section there, and when he did that, he saw that there were lots and lots of fossils. So he brought Sander Hilge there to look at the fossils, and actually Sander is an archaeologist, and what he saw lying in these very fine-grained deposits was something that looked like stone tools. Next click, please. So he collected a number of them in the cardboard box together with Harold, brought them over to the lab, and the Patruman was visiting at that time, very lucky. And immediately when Eduard and Patruman saw these rocks, to me they looked just like rocks, but I could see in their eyes that as archaeologists they were immediately triggered and immediately realized that these were rocks out of context in this fine-grained deposit, and that they were actually stone tools. And this was the start of a whole new project, also NWO funded, that was led by Eduard Pop together with Sofwan. And this is really a very beautiful project. And I hope that Eduard or Sofwan can, in the next session of this talk show, can tell us more about it, because it's really quite spectacular what has been found in terms of fossils and tools. But I won't go into that. That's for other people to do. Next slide, please. But I do want to introduce another site, and that is actually Harold's discovery. Harold is a geologist, but also a coastal consultant. He has been working for many, many, many years on Java, also employed by the Surabaya harbor. They have a big development scheme to make artificial islands to enlarge the capacity for harbor development. And Harold was involved in the making of one of these islands, and they are made with sandy stones, sandy deposits that are dredged up from the seabed in the Madura Strait. And when this artificial island was dewatering, you can see it. You can see it in the lower left picture. Harold was walking on that site, and he saw that it was literally strewn with fossils. He started collecting these fossils and then studying them in collaboration with colleagues from the Geological Museum Bandung. And this has resulted in really a wonderful collection containing very interesting fossils. I won't give any details about it, but I would like to announce that this has resulted in no less than 4 publications. The first 3 are already accepted and in press. The last one is now almost done, the revision, and it will be published soon in Quaternary Environments and Humans. So all 4 of them will be published together. And yeah, I think this also shows how hugely important this Trinil project has been to give us so many new insights, but also to take the lessons that we learned to the wider area of East Java. So we've branched out a little from Trinil to the Trinil area, to Sogan, to the Madura Strait. And I think that, well, that's just wonderful that we're finding more and more pieces of the puzzle. So, and I'm also very, very excited now to know that there's this Bumiayu Research Center that will allow us to go to the older deposits and study those strange archaic Homo erectus, because I think that Java was and is really one of the most important areas in the world for human evolution. And I feel very privileged that I was allowed to work there, and I hope I can continue to do this. And I would like again to thank Patruman for, starting all this, and it has been a great adventure. Thank you so much on behalf of the whole team and on behalf of all the organizations that were involved, and in the funding also for NWO and Leiden University. Thank you so much, and I'm welcoming any questions you may have.
Okay, Thank you so much, Prof. Jose. It's a very impressive presentation. Wow, it's from the picture you can make the very good result. I think it's we begin to decision. I opened for the 3 questions, probably for the presentation of the Prof. Jose. Any participant want to participate, you can click the raise hand, and you can open the mic too. Okay, any question for? Oh, okay, Ridwan's question. You can start the question, or probably you can open the video.
Halo Pak Hari, suaranya kedengaran?
Ya.
Kedengaran, Pak?
Dengaran.
Maaf ya, saya ini lagi ada di jalan.
Oh, baik. Oke.
Saya cuma nanya satu. Kenapa sih lokasi fosil Trinil ini adalah pada pembicara Ibu Jose, kenapa sih lokasi fosil Trinil ini paling terkaya di Indonesia untuk Homo erectus dibandingkan dengan yang di fosil Homo erectus yang satunya lagi Pulau Flores kalau tidak salah di Liang Buta atau apa ya? Kenapa di tempat selain itu 2 tempat tuh tidak ada lagi? Kenapa penyebabnya? Itu sekian dari saya.
Oh, Pak Hari?
Sorry, Jose. Okay, thank you, Pak Ridwan. Terima kasih. I will translate to Jose after. Do you like to answer for the first question, or probably you waiting for the 3 people?
No, let me first answer this question because it sounds like quite a long question. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I will translate to you. Is Pak Ridwan asking about why in Trinil is have a lot of the fossil. So it's not like in the other place in Java. So what is the unique of this location of this area?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and one that we have also asked ourselves. And the answer is that we don't know why. We have some ideas, but it's hard to prove that. Trinil is special because there's no other place, as far as I'm aware, along the Solo River that has deposits like the ones that we recognize in Trinil. We do see in other places along the river like the clay and the lahar, and we can recognize the terrace sediments, but actually those fossil-bearing sediments, the BBC2 and the BBC1, we haven't found a real equivalent elsewhere. So these are very, very local deposits, and they must have been associated with a very, well, maybe small local stream that has done this channeling, and this local stream may have come about because of a tectonic situation. So if you have seen that there is some faulting in the area, if you have a fault, you get sometimes that will make the appearance of these kinds of small river channels. So it could be like a truly very, very local phenomenon that is associated with this particular setting, which is lucky in a way because it collects so many fossils at the same place. Maybe Harold can, if he's around, he can make some more informed comments about it because he's the geologist.
Okay, Harold, probably you want give some words.
Yes, of course. Actually, I see that my camera is off, so I'll try to turn it on.
Okay.
Yes, well, I could add actually, Well, you can look at it from several viewpoints, but one interesting viewpoint is when you look first at the older deposits of what we call the Batu Gajah formation, you can see that there is preservation of several volcanic mass flows, and you have some marine clays, and they're actually quite nice layered, even though it covers a long time. Most of the layers are quite well preserved, which tells us that during this long period there has been some subsidence, so that new volcanic mass flows that were formed actually also were preserved. From a certain moment on, and that's actually what we see from the base of these BBC bone beds, from this moment on there was a big change of the landscape. Actually, there were a lot of things changing, but one of the things that also changed was that you do not see this preservation anymore, but there's erosion. So the substance was not there anymore, and you see a little uplift probably. Actually, what we see is that the older landscape is incised. It's not the terrace landscape that we see, but it's an older landscape that apparently is incised. And during this long period, it may start, for example, 800,000 or 900,000 years ago, until 400,000 or 500,000 years ago, you don't have much geological preservation. You only have once in a while a very thin erosive conglomerate, which is actually a channel bed of a little creek, a little incision that has been preserved. But for most of the time, you will see that there has been erosion. And I think it's more or less the same thing as you see in Sangiran, that after this long period of clay sedimentation, you see little pieces of conglomerate. Over there, you call it the grensbank. It might be more or less the same thing, but it is not necessarily of exactly the same age, because I think that during a long period of several 100,000 years, you mainly had erosion in this area, and on some places you can see a little lag deposit that is left, but it's not much. So you have to be very lucky to find a preserved lag deposit of an old little channel that has remained, like with some local reworked gravel and with a lot of fossils. So actually, I think on this particular level, you have to, it's not much, but if you do find a remnant of this, of an erosive bed, you will mostly also find fossils. So I think the question is not why is Trinil special? The question is actually, there has been a long time with little preservation, but if you do find a layer from this period, it's always an incised channel bed, and it usually has fossils. So at this level, let's say above the conglomerates or above the clays that we find in Sangiran, you have to look for remnants of incisions, and you find them here and there. Yes, in Trinil, but also if you go to the ᴜᴜᴛᴏ site where Eduard Popp is now excavating, a little bit upstream from his excavation, you find similar conglomerates, probably more or less of the same age as the bone beds in Trinil, and also with fossils. So it's actually, I think we have to look at this stratigraphic level and hope that we find the preservation of an erosive landscape. And of course, always an erosive landscape leaves little preservation, leaves little geological information, but it's an interesting phase. So I think that's actually what it is. Trinil accidentally preserves a few of these little channels, or a remnant of this channel conglomerates.
Thank you, Harold. Yeah, that's very well explained. I hope this answers the question.
Okay, I think it's already answered the question. I think I will translate to Indonesia, so the questioner will be understand your answer. So Pak tadi Pak ini ya Pak Ridwan tadi Jose bilang bahwa memang Trinil ini spesial karena memang terdapat di Trinil itu adalah aktivitas tektonik ya, terutama aktivitas tektonik yang dapat mengumpulkan dan mengungkap fosil di wilayah ini. Jadi tidak banyak sebenarnya di sepanjang aliran Bengawan Solo wilayah-wilayah yang dapat kumpulan fosil. Nah, jadi kalau misalnya tadi ditambahkan oleh Harold geolognya, bahwa dari lapisan geologi ini kita dapat melihat adanya erosi yang ada di aliran Bengawan Solo. Namun erosi ini juga yang membuat sebenarnya stratigrafi atau lapisan-lapisan di Bengawan Solo itu menjadi lebih rumit. Sehingga tadi yang sudah dibilang bahwa Jose tadi bahwa kadang pertanggalannya itu berbeda gitu, walaupun fosilnya berdekatan. Jadi kita tidak bisa melihat bahwa kalau fosilnya berdekatan itu bahwa akan sama umurnya, seperti itu. Jadi akan ada perbedaan umurnya, sehingga kita harus menelitinya tiap lapisan dan temuan itu sangat-sangat teliti gitu seperti itu. Jadi ini membutuhkan waktu yang sangat lama dan tentu apa namanya itu eh, eh, usaha yang lebih keras ya seperti itu. Mungkin itu aja Pak dari mungkin sudah paham ya Pak Ridwan ya dari yang dijelaskan tadi. Saya merangkumnya sedikit untuk itu. Oke, untuk lanjut ke pertanyaan kedua ya, mungkin dari ini ya dari there is a question from the chat in here, you see. So the question is number 2 is from YK. So a question to Jose. You mentioned in test pit 1, Trinil, there's where some botanical remains found. What type of the plant family are they? Are there any publication yet focusing on those botanical remains? Kind of interested to know what plant species or family exciting during the Homo erectus era and around Trinil.
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't focused on the botanical remains yet, and I think this is something that would well be worth it. But the remains were too fragmentary for us to really do something with. But I agree that it would be good to focus more attention on that in the future. Because of course it is a very important topic. But this is work that has not been done yet. So whoever is interested, that would be great to take that up.
So it's estafette research is never ending.
No, it's never ending. No.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's already what is the answer by Jose ya, Pak Yeka. So I will continue to the Pak Kata Ivankov. Thank you for Prof. Joordens. From your experience in Africa side, what are the essential difference in terms of paleo landscape between the two geographical area? Second, remembering your research focus on aquatic foraging of erectus, making erectus a sort of first semi-aquaman, and also considering the early African erectus adaptation strategy to dry climate and dependence to river, like in Olduvai, George, Tanzania. Are these erectus strategies on Africa similar to Japanese erectus strategies of using water resource?
Wow,
there
very
is two
good
questions.
question. Two questions. Yeah. The first one, the difference between the sites I've been working on in mainly in Kenya, in the Turkana Basin and Trinil. Well, the differences are enormous. In terms of landscape, the Turkana Basin is and has always been a huge lake in the past. So we are dealing with lacustrine sediments. And lake sediments are easier in that respect because they stack in a nicer way, that you see that the older ones are in the base and the younger ones are on top. So in that respect, it was I found working with the geology easier in the Turkana Basin, but at the same time, it was not a continuous record. So you also had to piece it together in small pieces. A big difference for me personally was that in the Turkana Basin, I was one of a team. and I focus mainly on paleoclimate and paleo-environmental reconstruction. And other people did the fossils and everything. And working in Trinil suddenly meant that I had to learn everything from not only the geology and resolution, the reconstruction of the site, but also how to do an archaeological excavation, how to do a paleontological excavation, how to zoom out again to the bigger picture geology. So it was a steep learning curve for me to be able to get familiar with such a new and strange and difficult site. And I have to thank my team again and all the people collaborating, because really there was a total team effort. And in that respect, working in Trinil has been a truly major challenge. Yeah, it's the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And regarding the second question, yes, well, I'm a marine biologist by origin, so I tend to look at hominins also through this lens of a mammal that is possibly also adapted to foraging in the coastal zone. Of course, we Homo sapiens, we are very active foragers. We fish the oceans empty. Also, people living along the 𝘗 River nowadays, they fish, they collect shellfish for food. So our association with water has truly been an old one, and work by colleagues in the Turkana Basin has shown that this adaptation to fish and crocodiles and turtles has gone back at least 2 million years. And of course, that's also the time frame we are working in here on Java. So I think there must be some kind of a hominin population that adapted to, or that you could say that specialized in coastal foraging in whatever way. And I think this is something that deserves further research, and actually the possibility of adaptations to foraging in water by diving is the topic of hopefully my new research project. You probably are well aware that one of the groups in Indonesia, the Bajau Laut, the Suku Laut, they are very, very well capable of using diving to collect almost all of their food. So they are really, and that is found in a recent study, also genetically adapted to almost like an otter-like way of foraging in water. And of course, the big question is, when did this kind of ability first arise? Was this something in Homo sapiens, or could it be earlier? And personally, I'm very intrigued by these earliest Homo erectus from the Sangiran Formation, and the ones that may have been present in the Bumiayu sediments, because and this is actually something that Harold Berghuis pointed out to me. They were living in the coastal area, in the coastal forest, so they were at the right place at the right time. And I think it will be truly exciting to work further on that.
Wow, it's very impressive. This one about the Sundaland.
Yes,
Fossil, this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think as 3 questions already finished. Jose already answer all. I think I open only one the question. Only I think it's from the Ruli, because we almost run of time. Maybe is one. I think the last question from the Ruli, this one. I'm just curious and interested with this aspect below. 1, do you have any different taxa assemblage between BBC1 and BBC2? Number 2, do you have any visible or clearless toponymical characteristic difference between the BBC1 and BBC2 bone beds? Number 3, there is any change that both of the BBC1 and BBC2 BBC2 contain mixed rework material from younger and older?
Yeah. Yeah, very good questions. The first one, is there a difference in the fauna composition between BBC2 and BBC1, right? Probably not so much. No, it's of course we did quite small excavations. We had just those test pits, so we have an idea of what the species composition is, but we don't have probably have not excavated enough to reconstruct a full fauna. Our impression is that no, there is not so much difference between them, even though there is a considerable time difference. So there may, if we look at detail, there might be differences. Yes, taphonomy. Superficially it looks that the fossils from BBC1 have a more pitted aspect, and in many cases you can see that the cortex of the bones has been removed because of the if they were taken from the sediments, you see a part of the cortex still sticking to the sediment. So that could one of the reasons be why the skull cap actually is partly decorticated. So that is again a reason for us to believe it's coming from BBC1. Again, this would be a very cool study to do, to look at the enormous collection from the Dubois collection, at all the fossils, and try to see if you can divide them in two groups based on taphonomy, maybe also based on species assemblage. This is work that needs to be done, and then this question could be better answered. What was the third one again? The second and the third one? Oh, I cannot hear you, Harry.
So sorry. There is any change that both of the BBC1 and BBC2 contain mixed rework material from younger and older?
Yeah. It's very likely that the BBC1 contains fossils from the underlying clay, because we saw that in this clay layer there were fossils. Not many, but there were fossils. So because of this BBC1 cutting into the clay, we saw also clay balls. Yes, definitely there may be older fossils in BBC1. And the same goes for BBC2. BBC2 has been cutting into BBC1. So it's probably a mix of fossils that belong in the BBC2 period, you could say, but also it will contain fossils from the BBC1. And yeah, there's a huge age difference from about 300,000 years. So we are looking at quite a mixed assemblage. And the BBC1 or the BBC2 will not contain younger fossils than itself, but the Dubois collection for sure will contain a mix of BBC2, BBC1, and even younger ones, and the occasional older fossil from the clay as well. I don't know how we should disentangle this collection. It may be an explanation why there are species like, for instance, the gibbon, which kind of stands out among the rest of the assemblage. There's a lot still to do, I think, and that would be very cool to find out.
Yeah, it's very very cool to find the new evidence and result. Okay, I think it's enough for the question, because we are already have run of time, and maybe participant who want to continue and interesting with maybe discuss with Prof. Jose. Can you put the email probably, Prof. Jose, to the chat, and after maybe someone want to talk with you in the email and discuss more further. I think it's for me, I think it's enough for as a moderator. Thank you so much for everyone. The times I will return to the Ruli. Mas Ruli.
Thank you very much, Bu Jose, atas for your beautiful presentation and really nice result from your research. And then hopefully we will found another discovery, another findings, interesting findings from the collaboration with the Indonesian Research Institution. And then our last occasion for today, there will be a special closing remarks from Mr. Dr. 𝘱𝘱🏞, Head of Research Center for Archaeometry from National Research and Innovation Agency from Bumiayu site, actually. And then as a conclusion and concluding remarks for our discussion for today and also the significance of this discussion. Pak Sofwan, time is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ruli. Thank you, Jose, for your sharing. So we are very happy, we are very glad to have this sharing. So we know this recent research conducted between 2018 to 2023. Actually, it's a collaboration between naturalists and archaeologists, continued by BRIN at Homo erectus site in Trinil. And we know the research have provided significant insight into behavioral and also cognitive abilities of Homo erectus. And this finding have enriched our understanding of this ancient hominin species, particularly in terms of technology, capabilities, and also lifestyle, especially in the aquatic environment. So the research has enlightened the importance of Trinil site as a key of for our understanding on human origin in Southeast Asia. In the perspective of technology and cognitive ability, the finding from Jose on the engraving shell between more than 300,000 years ago, challenging the notion that such cognitive behavior were not only exclusive in Homo sapiens, but probably originated from earlier hominin. And also from this research, we know better understanding on the geological and stratigraphic context. About the Trinil, there is two bone-bearing layer, not only one layer and one context, the Trinil hominin finding. And probably there is mix between BBC1 and BBC2. And the most, for me, the most interesting is we can differentiate between the context of skull cap and femur 2 to femur 5 that come from the older channel and compared to the femur 1 that come from the younger deposit and probably correlated with the Ngandong Terrace. And this finding, this potential, this finding, this finding provide some insight. Probably there is an existence of different hominin from the older layer compared to the younger layer. So, and probably also with their cultural tradition, different cultural tradition, with the implication for and have probably have implication for understanding the diversity and so also capability of early hominin in this area. So lastly, we would like to thanks so much for Professor Jose Joordens for sharing her knowledge regarding this recent research in Trinil. We invite you to come to Java again to continue this collaboration, not only in Trinil, we can enlarge to a broader area to Bumiayu, for example, and the other area. And thank you so much to all the audience for this attractive discussion, and keep in touch with the CPAS for the next talk show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you very much, and Pak Sofwan, for Ibu host, Ibu Jose. Terima kasih. Thank you very much for participating in our discussion for today, our talk show. And just like what Pak Sofwan said, the attendees or participant for today's meeting, you can always see our new announcement, seeing the updates from our social media. And I please receive our apologies if there is any mistakes during during our talk show for today. And see you in the next occasion. And then I also want to express our thank you to the participant from the YouTube channel. And goodbye, and see you in our next talk show for next month. Thank you, Ibu Jose.
Thank you so much, Ibu Jose, and everyone.
Thank you very much, Bu Jose.
Thank you. It was great to see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yes.
all,
You again.
Alfred, and everyone's.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Harold and everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So
Thank
Hey,
you.
Alfred, how are you, Alfred?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for organizing this.
Nice-
This was an amazing
Nice to see you
talk.
here.
Of course, I wouldn't want to miss it.
Are you
I
still in
guess.
Manila?
Yeah, I'm still in Manila, suffering from the heat.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.